All rise. The International Court of Justice is now in session.
The case before the court is the case concerning the Southern Referendum.
The parties are applicant, the Democratic Republic of Antara, versus respondent, the Villain Kingdom of Bavaria.
What do you think will be the effect if we were to just simply allow illegally obtained evidence? Won't that condone the practice of then deliberately violating international law for the purpose of obtaining evidence, even if it were not deliberate here, as you claim?
No, it will not set a bad precedent for future cases because in reality, Your Excellencies, what we have here is a highly exceptional case. Because first, according to the Iran hostages case, negligence is still consistent with good faith. And second, according to the Rose versus the King case, matters of national security trumps inviolability.
In the case of Terentia versus Russia, the European Court found that speech alluding to the burning of police officers like at Auschwitz do not constitute incitement, as they were mainly expressions of dissatisfaction and protest.
Applicant has 2 points for rebuttal. First, Your Excellencies, respondent has yet again peddled misinformation even before this court because respondent argued that national security exception is not recognized based on the Tehran hostage case. Second, Your Excellencies, applicant claims that respondent failed to comply with its due diligence obligation. However, pursuant to the case of Corfu Channel, the obligation to notify presupposes that the state has direct and constructive knowledge on the part of its state.
There is a customary international law obligation or exception that allows overriding public interest to pierce the confidentiality of conciliation meetings. We respectfully disagree. Because in paragraph 44 of this court's 1994 territorial questions decision, this court already recognized a customary rule in this domain that this honorable court cannot take into account statements and admissions made by states in the course of direct negotiations when such negotiations have not led to an agreement.
We appear before this court to assert that Bavaria violated international law through the campaign of financial contributions and misinformation.
Our suspension order of Professor Hunlund's Pano account was consistent with Article 19, Paragraph 3 of the ICCPR. And second, our takedown of the lunar botnet and the effects of those takedowns on computers and devices in Bavaria were consistent with the Budapest Convention and customary international law.
An intention to mislead is not sufficient in order to reach the threshold of coercion. It is necessary that that intention to deceive must have led to the suppression of the opposition or the drowning out of the voices of the opposition.
The
submit, therefore, Your Excellencies, that all of these things, taken together in their context, simply means that Professor Hanlan is encouraging the Sudans to directly exercise their right to suffrage.
So are you saying that the state has a right to moderate speech based on content?
Yes, Your Excellencies, we submit that the state has the right to moderate content pursuant to the requisites under Article 19, paragraph.
Does the suspension cover the creation of another account?
No, Mr. President, it does not. And that
so
is
he can create another account, right?
Yes, Mr. President.
So he can still share his views despite the suspension?
Yes, Mr. President, he still can.
And the suspension did not prohibit him from creating more accounts in order for him to express himself?
Yes, Mr. President, that is correct.
So wouldn't this particular suspension not be some least intrusive in that particular regard?
Mr. President, to clarify, we submit that that is precisely what makes the measure proportionate in this case, especially because Professor Hanlan is not prohibited from speaking in other avenues or even by creating a new account.